MAGA Representative Brandon Gill stepped up to the committee microphone and delivered a blistering takedown of the progressive budget narrative, putting what he described as the outrageous misuse of American taxpayer dollars on full display. He laid out his case for the entire nation to see. Let's go straight to the footage.
Republicans talk about big, beautiful bill. I think this is a big, ugly bill. Let's call it what it is. It is the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in U.S. history. This reconciliation package proposes devastating cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. My Republican colleagues will tell you that they are just going after waste, fraud, and abuse, but let's be clear. The only way to slash this much safety net spending is by making it harder for people to survive. Their changes will kick millions of Americans off their health care and nutrition assistance. That means more untreated illnesses, more hungry children, more preventable deaths. This isn't just line items in the budget. There are people's lives, the sacrifice of human dignity and of life itself. And for what? So that your billionaire friends can get nearly $300,000 in tax cuts? This is not a serious budget. This is a green light for authoritarianism, for inequality to run rampant. It is a police state budget wrapped in billionaire tax cuts.
Every dollar the federal government spends comes from someone who worked for it, someone who got up, went to work, and earned that money. Yet for years, taxpayer dollars have been spent on projects that critics argue should never have been funded in the first place, including controversial cultural programs overseas. While that spending continued, Representative Ilhan Omar criticized the reconciliation bill as one of the largest transfers of wealth from the poor to the rich in American history. That created a striking political contrast. Critics of the spending argue that the same government defending questionable foreign-funded programs has no credibility lecturing Americans about protecting the poor. Brandon Gill of Texas listened to the entire argument. Then he was given just 6 minutes to respond. What followed was a forceful challenge to Omar's claims and a broader attack on Democratic spending priorities. Gill used those 6 minutes to put the debate over taxpayer money and government priorities front and center. Now, let's hear exactly what he said.
Mr. Gill from Texas is recognized for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, thank you for all of your hard work. I'm thrilled about this piece of legislation as it's getting started. This reconciliation bill, I believe, will balance. It will extend the Trump tax cuts for the working class so that they don't experience the biggest tax increase in American history, and it'll grow the economy. But of course, it will also help us to implement the Trump agenda, which is to clean up the chaos and destruction that Joe Biden unleashed on our country over the past 4 years. It will help us fund the mass deportation of illegal aliens who have been murdering and and pillaging American citizens. It will help us unleash our fossil fuel energy sector, and it will allow us to rebuild our military. And of course, it will help us implement DOGE, which this amendment targets, among other things. As DOGE has been rolled out, I think it's been a bit curious because I found that so many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have not been upset about the waste, fraud, and abuse that this process has uncovered. Rather, they've been angry that the fraud has been exposed at all. We found that for decades, the administrative state has been weaponized against the American people. We can give example after example of flagrant abuses of American taxpayer dollars. We've heard of some of them earlier, but I'll name a few more. $1 million spent to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in West and Central Africa through the State Department. Almost $50,000 on a transgender opera in Colombia, also through the State Department. Over $7,000 for a BIPOC speaker series in Canada through the State Department. I think it's worth noting that normal, sane Americans don't know what BIPOC means, and neither do I. $80,000 for an LGBTQ community center in Slovakia, and over $16,000 for a united and equal queer feminist discourse in Albanian society, whatever that is. And of course, we also know that our taxpayer dollars have been going to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every year to fund left-wing media outlets like NPR and PBS, paying for welfare for illegal aliens, and paying for giving out payments to international organizations that are censoring and pushing for the censorship of American citizens. Our own federal government is using taxpayer dollars to promote ideologies that tens of millions of Americans find utterly repulsive. I think if the other side of the aisle has such a deep ideological opposition to this DOGE process, I challenge them to be straightforward with the American people and explain why taxpayer dollars should be funding queer feminist discourse in Albanian society or drag shows in Ecuador. I don't think that they will, but I would love to see it if they did. Elon Musk acting as an employee and an agent of the president, I think has certainly more democratic legitimacy than Anthony Fauci did, and he certainly has more democratic legitimacy than the nameless, faceless bureaucrats who have been running our lives for several years, the waste of which he is rooting out currently. President Trump here with DOGE is doing exactly what he was elected to do. DOGE is a part of the Trump mandate. It's extremely popular. In fact, Elon Musk and the DOGE movement right now are polling at a higher approval rating than Joe Biden had on his way out of the White House. President Trump, of course, is polling at record numbers.
Gill came out swinging, challenging his opponents over what he described as questionable federal spending overseas, while Americans at home continue to deal with rising costs and economic pressure. He pointed to specific government-funded projects abroad, citing State Department grants connected to cultural and community programs in countries including Colombia, Slovakia, and Albania. His argument was simple. Why should American taxpayers be funding controversial projects overseas when families back home are struggling to make ends meet? Gill used the examples to broaden his attack on what he sees as Washington's culture of unchecked spending. He argued that billions in federal expenditures deserve serious scrutiny and that taxpayers have a right to know exactly where their money is going. His criticism also extended to opponents of fiscal reform and efforts aimed at reducing government waste. Gill challenged lawmakers to explain why programs he considers unnecessary should continue receiving taxpayer support while Americans are being asked to tighten their own budgets. The message was clear. Government spending should serve the interests of the American people first. Gill positioned himself as a voice for working families demanding greater accountability, lower taxes, stronger economic growth, and an end to wasteful spending. If you're tired of seeing Washington spend taxpayer money without enough accountability, make sure you subscribe. We break down the biggest political clashes and congressional battles so you can see what's really being argued. Gill's remarks turned the hearing into a larger debate over government accountability and fiscal responsibility, and he made it clear that he intends to keep pressing the issue. What do you think about Gill's argument? Let us know in the comments, hit the like button, and share this video with others. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and I'll see you in next breakdown.